Just waiting for it to load now.
You got it.
Okay, we should be live. I'll wait a minute or two just to let some people hop in and we'll get going.
Cool.
We also try to share this out to one thing real quick. I'm going to share this to the Meet the Masters page. And I'm going to monitor this. Master Marco from Sweden is on watching us. Let's say we got 6 people already.
Wow. That's a shocker. I think they're here for you. Let's be honest.
No, we're here live with Master Adam White. Master White is long-term friend of mine, one of my longest friends, period, and definitely my longest friend in the martial arts in the World Tung Soo Association. So glad to have you here, Master White.
Thank you for having
anything
me.
you'd like to say to the group before we get going?
Well, I just want to say that Master Jorgensen and I have been friends for 35 years now. We started way back when we were kids, and we're still kicking. And it is just a pleasure to be here with you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Definitely good to reconnect with the friends. I was talking with Master White a little bit before we got started, and it seems sometimes that we're in different regions, we're in different countries. So we don't get to see each other nearly as much as we used to. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's start the interview kind of the same way we always do. If you have comments out there on Facebook, I will be monitoring those. If you have any questions for Master White, I'll periodically throw those out to him. But I do have some questions prepared ahead of time. We'll start like we always do. If you can just kind of tell us how and why you got started in the martial arts and in the World Tung Soo Association.
Well, I started way back in '85, and I lived in an area that was, we'll just say, not so safe. And bullying was a way of life. And when I was in middle school, your dad was my gym teacher. And he had just started martial arts classes under Master Vaughn, then a second degree black belt. And he was basically recruiting. And when he came to class, or I came to his class, he said, anybody interested in joining a karate class? And I was just like, yeah, I want to be able to defend myself and not be bullied anymore. So anyway, that was the beginning of my career in martial arts. I was lucky enough to live close to you and your family, and since you had started martial arts a couple months before myself, it was pretty much on the way. So I would hitch a ride with you and your dad to karate 2-3 times a week, and from that point, it was pretty much love at first sight. I loved it immediately because I had no skills in any sports, no coordination. And then all of a sudden I started kicking and punching. I was like, whoa, I can do this. This is amazing. Felt coordinated for a change. Not maybe the first month, but after that, started feeling pretty good. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do. So I owe a lot to your dad for opening that up for me. So when you see him, make sure you thank your dad for me.
Yes, sir. I know my parents have occasionally been watching as well, so hopefully they see that and
Yeah.
he gets to see that. Appreciate it. So going back, like you said, we started under Master Vaughn. A lot of people were able to see Master Vaughn's interview recently. It's good to watch and see Master Vaughn up there too. Do you have any memories of Master Vaughn or training at Vaughn's Dojo in particular that you can share with the group?
Too many, but I'll go way back in time, and you were there as well. We were in a little room. This was in Limerick, I believe, and it was a warm-up dance room where they had a stretch rack. It was, very like ceramic floors or something, no air conditioner, no heat. And right from the beginning, I remember Master Vaughn working us where when it was hot, it was unbearable hot. And when it was cold, it was sweaty and slippery. And so my memories are being taken out into the hallway going through my, just trying to get front stance down, messing up on the turns, and then going back into that dojang and working our butts off every class doing, I mean, it was not unusual for us to do low block up and down, back and forth, 4 rounds up and down the small floor. And then we would spice things up and add a reverse punch. We were like, whoa, reverse punch. But I remember that repetition really instilled a foundation in me and my technical skills. And so I would say my memories of that little room where we began, and there's so many memories. I mean, we're talking, over the span of, 21, 22 years with Master Vaughn, there's a lot of memories there. So I owe so much to Master Vaughn for making me the person that I am now. So the memories that I have, just life-changing memories, we'll say, and I owe so much to Master Vaughn. So thank you, sir. If you're out there, if you get word of this, you rock.
I'll echo that sentiment too, Master Vaughn. Like Master
Yeah,
White said, we could literally spend the whole hour-long interview just talking about memories of Vaughn's Dojang.
absolutely.
It's not what we're doing right now. We're trying to interview Master White, but
Yeah,
absolutely, 20 plus years of training, there are a lot of memories back there. But thanks for sharing that. I remember that too. A lot of
yeah.
people don't know how we started in that little room back in that gymnastics studio, and
Yep.
yeah.
And there was only a couple of us. It was a handful of people, maybe 6 or 7 of us. And it's fascinating to think that out of all these years that have passed, you, me, and Master David Roberts are the 3 original students of Master Vaughn that actually are still training and teaching. And I think you and me even more so, because we're young. Oh,
Well, we used
no offense, Master Roberts. No.
all right. So I'm gonna go more a little bit towards you, and when you got your school started. Master White School is Top Kick Karate. He has a couple different locations. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you started Top Kick Karate and kind of how it's evolved to what it is today.
Mhm. Well, I went into uncharted territory in the Reading area. I was living in Pennsylvania, and there's guidelines as to where you can start a studio, and it had seemed, if you looked at a map, there were craters everywhere, and there was no location that was open and available. And it just so happens that one of my old students, Paul McNally, he had started a club in the Reading area, which had not really found much success. And I saw that that was the one area. I said, I think there might be an opportunity there. So I spoke to Mr. McNally. He was stopping. It just wasn't successful like he had hoped. And I then went and inherited the Reading area, which in a very, relatively short time, it grew, you know, fairly well. And so that ended up being my home base for Top Kick Karate. The logo is actually a picture of me doing my high side kick back in the day. Now it would not be quite so high, but sidekick was and still is my favorite martial arts technique. And so Reading was my primary school, and from that point in recent times, it's probably been about a year and a half. I have opened up a second school in Delaware, which is a gift in my opinion, because I happened to move to Delaware. And for the first time in my martial arts career, I only have to drive 5 minutes to get to my karate school. But during the week when I go to Reading, I still have to drive an hour and a half. But that's okay, because these are the sacrifices that martial artists do on a regular basis. But I can say you can't beat the convenience of having a karate school close. So, but for me, teaching the martial arts has given me longevity. If it wasn't for the teaching, I don't know if I would have stuck around, just because it can only be about you for so long. So
Sure.
uh, teaching is tremendous for me. So that has kept me going, kept me fresh, kept me enthusiastic, and it's all credit to the students that I'm teaching.
So I'm going to jump around a little bit, but going back to our training with Master Vaughn, one of my favorite memories of training with Master Vaughn is that he always brought in so many different instructors to
Oh
expose
yeah.
us to over the years. I can't say how much I appreciate that because of all the different things we got involved in. So over the years, whether it was at a gut test or teaching for us, I view a lot of different people as instructors. We've had Master Chambliss and Master Brett and Master Beam come in. We had Master Quan back in the day at our gut tests. Master Nate Gordon taught us for a while with his daughter. So any memories or something to share from any of those people outside of Master Vaughn that he brought in to train us and to work
Absolutely.
with us?
Absolutely. I will start with Master Chambliss, who was scary as hell. And he came to teach us. We went to the Freedoms Foundation for a special class. And this man that I was so intimidated by, at the end of the class, he looks outside and he says, the sun's shining, goes, it's just beautiful out there. And he goes in and he just looks, he goes, it's beautiful in here. He goes, this is just, he goes, I love this. And his softened heart and his sincerity coming from such a tough person, it touched my heart because I was just like, wow, this is deeper than just kicking and punching. This is life-changing stuff. It's amazing. So Master Chambliss, that's one. I would say Master Gordon, his dedication for coming for that, I believe it was a year or so, he would travel from Philadelphia to, at that time, I think we were training out of a church basement, I believe. People who are in Vaughn's Dojang have no idea all the different places that we've trained in. I mean, there was a year where we even trained in your basement because that's all we had. But anyway, Master Gordon, he taught me uh, the skill of connecting with students. Master Gordon was not necessarily the greatest technician, but he is one of the greatest teachers I've ever had because he had the unique ability to make everyone feel special. And with Master Gordon, he said to me one time, he goes, you got two types of martial artists. You have ones that have great technique, but can't teach. Then you have those that can teach, but don't have great technique. He goes, I want you to be both. And so he basically said right from the start, this is what I see in you. This is what I want you to be. And I thought to myself, I can do this. And so he instilled within me, as I'm sure he did within you, the confidence and the skill of connecting with your students and truly loving your students, where of course you're the teacher and they're the student, but the friendship and the love and the connection, it's not so far apart, and that connection, I think, does make students feel invested. Um, it's interesting that Master Quan, for example, you had spoken of Grandmaster Quan. I remember seeing him. He would come to our school in this, 1970s style suit. I think the one time we had a gut testing, it was like during the Super Bowl or something. And, I'm walking and I hear this whooshing noise. And this kind of goes into one of your questions about the staff, the bomb. And I hear this whooshing noise, and I go into our little tiny room in Limerick, and he's sitting there in a full suit twirling the staff, and I can't even see the staff. It's just whirling. I mean, you might have even been right there with me, but I looked at that and I was like, whoa. Because the Master Vaughn was very good with the weapons, but I had never seen anyone twirl a staff like Grandmaster Quan. And I thought to myself, that's what I want to do. And that right there was an inspiration right from the start. I would say along with the Master Quan was the encouragement that we got from the guests that Master Vaughn brought in certainly did instill motivation within us to improve our skills. Grandmaster Quan said something to me, and I'm sure he said it to you because you and I were always we were best friends, but we also fed off of each other. And I think we challenged each other. And so Grandmaster Kwan said, good stances, good stances. And that meant gold to me. That was just like, oh, yeah. And I remember my first testing with Grandmaster Kwan when he came. I was testing, I was a white belt, and he skipped me right to orange belt, white stripe. We didn't have all these different belts, but that white stripe was magical. And then a couple testings later, he came and I was testing for, I don't know, green, white stripe or something. He skipped me to brown belt. I was like, what? And my point was, is that the effort that martial artists like yourself and me put, we did get, I know that people say it's not about the immediate reward. However, I do think that um, that immediate feedback that we would get every class from whether it be guest Master Vaughn or Master Gordon, that right there was immediate rewards in my opinion, because every lesson, every suggestion was a gift, and so all of these guests that Master Vaughn brought, I feel that I'm a little bit of all of them actually, and
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
a little bit of me sprinkled in,
Yes,
so
definitely.
I'm a whole lot of everyone, Yeah.
That's some great history there. I appreciate that. So, I'm going to segue into it a little bit since you talked about it. You're pretty well known throughout not just Region 8, but now even the world, because you've taught a lot of different staff lessons at different black belt camps and clinics, and even at the Masters Clinic now as well. So you've kind of been known as a staff guy for a long time. You mentioned Master Kwan was kind of your inspiration, but what's kept you going with the staff, and kind of talk a little bit about, maybe how you feel about that. If that's, I assume that's your favorite weapon as far as I know over the years.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah, I would say the staff is my favorite. Nunchuck would be my second. I think the sword is totally awesome, but I got a lot of work to do on that. So cane, not so much. Working on that form, that is very challenging. And luckily, I don't need to use a cane to walk at this stage in life. So, but as for the staff, I would say what's kept me going is that the staff I look at as um, multifaceted. With the staff, it is physically demanding because I always like to get the heaviest staff possible. So that is a physical exercise to develop and keep my muscles and joints strong. The repetition of the movements when it comes to twirling, for example, the fluidity and smoothness is a meditative action where you can do it and lose yourself in it. And there's very few things that I feel that you're able to do repetitive and meditative. And I think the staff is one of those. Um, the relevance of the staff, the usability, the striking, the focus, the discipline. Master Vaughn said to us way back when, he goes, choose one weapon and make that your own. Well, I had already chosen the staff, and that just reinforced my thoughts. So, honestly, what's kept me going is teaching staff to my students. It's exciting because everything that was old becomes new when you're teaching something to a student. And so, I have twirled millions of times or, done technique millions of times. But when I do it for a student and they get it the first time, it's like the first time for me too. So, like I said before, if it wasn't for the students, things would have gotten old real quick. But the students and their excitement, their learning, causes me great excitement and enthusiasm and makes things fresh. So the students being able to teach has allowed me to have longevity.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'll allow me to segue into another one of my questions. People may or may not know, in addition to being an excellent martial arts teacher for many years, Master White's also an elementary school teacher. So can you talk a little bit about how maybe one side influences the other, the school teaching with the martial arts and the martial arts at school?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my style of teaching martial arts, you know me well, and anyone who does know me knows that I like to throw humor into what I do. I take martial arts deadly serious, but I don't take myself so serious. Maybe back in the day when we were youth, maybe I took myself a little bit too serious. But now, I just find it enjoyable. So, what I inject into my elementary school is energy, awareness, and connection. And that is from the martial arts instruction when I teach martial arts. Um, I also do have that martial arts instructor attitude, though, where I don't take any nonsense. I have expectations, and there's really no option for anything less than what I expect. And so that attitude does carry on into my elementary school. Even at 8 years old, I teach second grade. I have tremendously high expectations for them. And there really is no wavering in what I think is right. I equate that to a parent who knows what's right for their child, even when their child doesn't know what's right for themselves. And so the martial arts has enabled me to be able to, through all the experience I've had, to really know what the outcome is likely to be before it's even started. And I'm sure you know that as well as all the other instructors that are out there, that experience is a tremendous gift because you can project things knowing the outcome prior to even starting because of the experience. And often we've learned the most from the mistakes we've made. So my teaching of elementary students, 100% comes from my martial arts because I was teaching for Master Vaughn for years and years, primarily teaching children. And I reflected back because I didn't know what I wanted to do because a year I worked as a prison guard. That was a terrible job. I didn't, terrifying too. I'm just going to be honest. But anyway, I realized, I said, man, I've been teaching kids for 10 years and I don't hate them yet. This must mean something. And so that right there unto itself kind of triggered me to say, I think I want to teach because I'm not sick of this yet. I haven't gotten frustrated with it. And we used to go and do the Charlestown Spring Fair, and we do demonstrations there every year. And I became acquainted with the principal, and I told her I was going to school for education. She goes, come back and talk to me when you graduate. I did, had interviews, and I got a job. It sounds simple, but it was years and years of martial arts that got my foot in the door to actually be a public school educator. So good question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Got a lot of definitely gems of wisdom out there. Rodney Ralph from New York, who was one of Grandmaster Bodwin's original students back in the day, is talking about how many great quotes that he's going to use and take back to his studio. So I appreciate that. Again, if anybody else is watching, there's been about 15 people or so watching on Facebook. If you guys have questions, throw them out there. I'll keep asking my questions, but we're watching your comments too. All right, continuing on again, this goes back a little bit, but I share my memories. A lot of the stories that I would have are the same stories that Master White had, just because we came up through the ranks together. I remember distinctly, there was a summer where Master Vaughn brought us in and said, I want the two of you to go down once a week, all right, down to the Havertown area, down to the main line, train with Master Mark Casarano this summer. Still one of my longtime favorite memories is training with Master Casarano. Fortunately, Master Casarano has passed, so I wanted to see if you had any stories about that time or even just Master Casarano in general.
Well, a couple quick things about Master Casarano. What Master Casarano taught me, this goes back to guest masters. Master Casarano was a technician. Master Casarano had a sidekick, that's the kind of sidekick I always try to do now. And his technique, his technical skills, I don't know that people realize how physically talented he was. My goodness, his technique was just amazing. But as for the man, I know that when I was young, I was scared to death of him. I was scared of all the masters. I mean, hell, I can look at an old picture of Master Vaughn and still get nervous just because I look in the eyes of these masters and I'm like, oh my goodness. But when I got to know Master Casarano, he is probably one of the funniest martial artists I've ever met in my life. There was a time I taught for Master Vaughn full time for a year. Master Casarano would call up occasionally and we'd have some chit chat, and he would be talking about stuff I will not mention here, but it was hilarious. And I was just like laughing, but nervous about laughing and saying, sir, in between his jokes. It was a very strange situation, you know, but as for our time when we trained with him, he was hardcore. He was relentless. Um, I found that some techniques that he had us do, I had never done before. And when Master Gordon came, he had taught us combination techniques that were unheard of back in the day when we were with Master Vaughn. And then Master Casarano comes in the picture and he's teaching us not necessarily crazy combinations, but kicking techniques like a jump 360 front kick. Who would ever thought of that? He said, you never did that before? I'm like, no, sir. Never even thought about it before, you know? But I remember how hard those classes were and how we would go together and we would drive home saying, whew. I mean, there wasn't any real words. We just would look over at each other and just go, whew, whew, whew. And I remember one time Master Casarano did a choking technique on me, and he goes, tap out when you feel it. Well, I heard the crunch of my neck before I got a chance to tap out. And at that point, I just said, I think he broke my larynx, but it was a beautiful gift and a beautiful memory. So Master Casarano, inspiration and very, very missed. He's a Master Casarano was the man, just saying. So
one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview is
yeah,
so that we have time and can share while we're still here,
yeah.
but also to recognize those people who have gone before us. So appreciate those stories as well.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely hardcore, definitely a lot of great training back in the day. And I've said it before, but appreciate all the times Master Vaughn exposed us to those different instructors. And that's something that people should definitely take advantage of if they get the opportunity, because you will be exposed to things you haven't seen before at your own studio.
Yep. And you remember the first World Championships that probably went on, it was at the old Philadelphia Convention Center. I think it went until maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. But at that tournament, we met grandmasters like Bang Soo Han. I mean, that's pretty heavy. You know, Ki Yun Yi and you know, Tai Ko Nam, who was fascinating because I was just a little kid and I'm seeing him in this silk flowery dobak doing this form that seemed like it was 10 minutes long. And in my little mind, because I think I was like an orange belt at that point, I was like, he's just making that up. There's no way that could be a real form. And as I grew and experienced it, no, I bet you he probably could have done that form 20 times in a row and it would have been exactly the same every time. You know, but I think about history of even that time. I mean, do you remember Master Derek Cole breaking rocks?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm thinking these are historical moments in time. Master Vaughn versus Master Britt in the finals in the World Championship. They were both second degree black belts, which was huge back then. And the fighting wasn't fast and furious like it is today. It was composed and patient, and they were stalking each other. And I still think Master Vaughn won, just saying. But you know, but I'm just saying that type of intensity where we weren't bored. We were just like, oh my goodness, this is so intense. This is amazing. You know, and
Absolutely.
I think of times like that, and I just say, my goodness, it's, you know, the times that we have nowadays are glorious, but the times that we were lucky enough to have back then, they will never be repeated. And we saw people in their prime. When we started, Master Vaughn was a second degree black belt. And when he got his third degree, how excited were we? We were just like, oh my goodness, my instructor has a third stripe on his belt. It was amazing. Because that
People
was,
don't realize that high ranking black belts back in the day was not something you just saw everywhere.
no, 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 definitely not. And I think of like uh, back in the day at the old George Washington Lodge where we tested for a black belt. It's no longer there. I think it's a Walmart now. But I remember the long lines waiting to do my jump front kicks on antifreeze jugs, sitting all day. And that goes into one of the questions you had before was, how are things better? How are things different? Well, things are certainly more efficient these days. Tournaments are more efficient. The way that the Petermans run things, the way that Master Sharps, the way that they run championships, the efficiency, it makes me wonder, and the black belt testings, it makes me wonder what the heck we were doing. Why did it take so dang long? So I think streamline the way that they have made things more efficient is just absolutely a tremendous growth in our association. I think I'm kind of taking over the questions before you're asking them. Sorry.
That's all right. We'll get back into it.
Yeah,
I have a couple things on Facebook. So these kind of go together. You have one of your students, Krista Hughes, says she's been training with Master Weight for about 5 years. Fantastic instructor that helps with more mature bodies to continue training. That goes into a question from Annabelle Smith, who says, Master Weight, your expertise and experience with staff work, could you speak to any of the health benefits, specifically perhaps arthritis or other hand issues as some of us become more mature of working with staff?
Jeez, that's a fantastic question. And that's something I was saying before is that the repetition, the fluidity, I think the striking can be jolting, the actual striking and hitting. So if it's an arthritis issue, I would hesitate to do a lot of striking, whether it be striking other people's staffs or just practicing your striking technique, because that could be a bit jarring. However, I think the repetitive motions are just tremendous for getting all the juices flowing. It's tremendous for low impact, but can be quite high intensity. The repetitive motion of it, as I said before, is very meditative. The variety of twirls and techniques that can be done with the staff can work all body parts. I honestly don't think you need to go to a gym if you have martial arts in your life, because you don't need equipment. All you need is space and a stick, and that's pretty cool. So I would say continue to twirl and don't get a staff that's too heavy. Get one that might be a bit thinner, easier in the grip, lighter, but the repetitive twirling, just work on forward twirl one arm, work on the propeller twirl in front, and do it 20 sets each direction, and do a little bit of that every day. And I guarantee you, I think martial arts, for me personally, has made me feel like I'm still young. I can't say the same thing after I teach an online class, because that is quite exerting. However, in the moment, I can tell you right now that martial arts has helped me to maintain a feeling of health and youth, and in many ways, martial arts has helped me to maintain uh, myself and avoid injuries, re-injuries. So the staff is a tremendous thing for exercise. So I don't know if I even answered your question, but I would say keep on twirling.
Appreciate that. So
Yeah.
this kind of segues into another question I've had, because people are talking about as they become more mature. Doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be when you were younger or now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any specific challenges you've had over the years, physical, mental, or otherwise, presenting to your martial arts training? Can you share that with us and kind of how you may have overcome one of those challenges?
Well, lots of people would say I still have mental issues, but that's a whole different story. So if we go way back, I would say that the martial arts, um, I I found quickly that I had a natural skill to the martial arts, and I could have just kind of relied on it, but that was not enough. So I worked really, really, really hard. So I think those that have great skill naturally, but don't continue to hone their skill, will be surpassed by those that don't have initial skills. I think those that are not naturally gifted will surpass those that are naturally gifted that don't use it. And so for me personally, I worked real hard. And when people were doing things on Friday night, I was in my bedroom practicing. I was in the backyard practicing. I would practice every day. And there was actually a dirt mound where I would start my forms every day and where I would end my forms. There was grass everywhere, but that one spot that I started, there was a dirt mound because that's where I had worn it down. So, anyway, I'd say that mentally, when I was young, there was a lot of an ego. And as I got older, I was humbled through my own physical limitations. So I remember hurting my knee. This was at the height of my physical skills, I would say. Was not unusual that I would jump and do flying side kicks to things hanging from the ceiling or jump front kicks to basketball nets. That was that I just loved it. So I was getting ready for a tournament and a demonstration because back in the day we had breaking and we could come up with our own techniques. And I was doing scissor kick, round kick, triple break. Well, make a long story short, the last time I did it, I blew my knee out pretty bad. You were there. Your dad was there. It was excruciating and traumatic. That humbled me greatly. I never stopped my martial arts training, and even while I was in a leg brace, I continued to work the upper body. But that physical reality kind of smacked some of that ego out of me because nobody is limitless. And so anyway, overcoming the knee injury, having some reoccurring re-injuries over the years from the knee certainly has changed my attitude. I'm more cautious on certain techniques. It might not be visible, but I never let it slip. That I never let it slip my mind. Be careful on the left side. And then I did have a shoulder injury that had occurred at a world championship. I believe it was in '90 against Master DePietro. Rest in peace, Master DePietro. We were free sparring. He kicked me under my armpit, blew my shoulder out right in the middle of the competition. Had to rush me to Las Vegas emergency room to pop it back in place. And, when you do something as a lifelong martial artist, this is not dance class, and there will be things that occur and you will get hurt. And all I can say is overcome these things. It will make you stronger. It will change your attitude. It will humble you. And humility does not make you weak. Humility makes you strong because you're more self-aware of your limitations. So for me personally, there were quite a few obstacles to overcome. Mentally, being my ego, physically being physically limited in what my imagination told me I could do. It's like my mind saying you could do this, and then your body's like, oh no, you don't. Like, all right, no, I didn't. Body wins, brain doesn't. Sorry.
I
So
appreciate you sharing that. Anybody out there who has had injuries or has them now, keep in mind, this will pass. You can work your way through it. And yeah, things might need to change, but the martial arts will always be there as long as you're willing to work through it. So
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing. Just checking in on Facebook. We still have a lot of people watching. Again, if you have questions for Master White, throw them out there. I will keep working through what I have. We've talked a lot about a lot of the different masters, but let's talk a little bit about grandmasters for a minute. We had unique opportunity in our region and through Master Vaughn's friendship with him to be exposed to Grandmaster Shin many times over the years, probably to a point where we didn't appreciate it maybe as much as we should have at the time until later, but you definitely appreciate it now. Do you have any memories of the Grandmasters, either Grandmaster Shin or Grandmaster Bowden or both?
Well, we'll start with Grandmaster Shin. It's like, I would agree 1,000% that, Grandmaster Shin was, I just don't think, as he got older, as we got older in the market, it seemed like people appreciated him more, but he was so readily available that I do think that for Region 8 specifically, I pray that people appreciated him the way he deserved to be appreciated, but he was so readily available and he was always there that it just became an expectation. And people lost sight of the fact that one of the world's greatest martial artists was in our presence. And I appreciated as he got older how there would be standing ovations and people would clap and he'd have to tell them to settle down because he was a rock star. I mean, he was what we have become, you know. So there was one story, well, two stories with Grandmaster I'll bring up. The one, we were sitting there in the airport after a master's clinic, and we were just, you know, he didn't know that I was there. He had his Apple, I guess it was earbuds or whatever. He had gotten some iPods. That's it. We had, Region 8 had gotten him iPods. He loved it. He would listen to his music and stuff. So he's sitting there. His back is to me. I'm on the other side. He doesn't know that I'm there. He's talking to himself. And he says, traveling, always traveling. And I'm just waiting. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, uh-oh, am I going to hear something that breaks my heart, you know? And he goes, it's okay. It's my job. And I thought to myself, he did not know I was there. No one was around him, no bodyguards, no protection. And I could tell you that was from his heart. And I thought, wow, always traveling, always traveling. It's okay. It's my job. Right there. What a selfless attitude that is rare to come by these days. And he just worked and worked and worked, and this was his life. And God bless his wife and his family for allowing him to change the world in his own way. Another time with Grandmaster Shin was we were coming back from some event, I don't know where it was, and I asked him if I could carry his drum, because back in the day, that was the way students did it. I was eager to carry Master Vaughn's bag. I think you and I used to fuss over who would carry his bag. And the point is that never stopped. And when I got to carry Grandmaster's drum, I felt like a champ. It was awesome. And to this day, if Grandmaster was here, I would pay money to carry his drum once again. Grandmaster Bodwin, well, we were lucky enough, you and I, to get promoted to 4th degree by Grandmaster Shin. Grandmaster Bodwin promoted me to 5th degree. And I had said to him, I said, thank you for taking care of us, sir. And then I told him I loved him. And this is what I got promoted, which was pretty huge, you know. And he just smiled, and, you know, that smile he had, you know. And I just thought to myself, this is a good person that's taken over, you know. So when he died, suddenly it was, you know, pretty heartbreaking. You know, thank God for Grandmaster Strong. I mean, really, you know, I just think to myself how blessed we are to have met the greatest people that, I mean, if it wasn't for the martial arts, I don't think I personally would have met half of the, you know, people that I've met that were just such great people. I mean, I've met some of the greatest people I've ever known through the martial arts. And I think that's a real gift. You know, I say like, you know, these masters who are passing away, it's heartbreaking. You know, Dr. K, I didn't know Dr. K like you did, but I know that he influenced thousands of people. And you know, his sudden passing, you know, Master Barenthal in London, just, I met him. I didn't know him, but I have no doubt the impact that he had on people. And I guess that brings me to this point, is that we as martial artists don't realize the long lasting impact we have on somebody's life. And so I would say for us to really understand and appreciate the gift that we have to give something to others that will change their life. You know, when we're done, when we're not here, man, we're going to live forever. That's a pretty cool thought. you
Let's
know?
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe becoming a master, starting your school, etc., what do you think your greatest achievement so far? And hopefully, maybe it's still to come. What do you think your greatest achievement in the martial arts so far has been?
Honestly, being a good teacher. I mean, if I had to go with the actual, an actual event, I would say the first master's clinic that I taught the staff, that was an all-time high. I had masters coming up and just thanking me and saying how the seminar was like that of one they paid $1,000 to, and I was just like, no, you're joking, you're just buttering the muffin for some reason. But I do think having people that I respect and look up to, and in many cases some of these masters I am in awe of, to actually feel like there's something I have to offer is absolutely tremendous in my life. I just think to myself, um, it goes back to Master Vaughn. I'd say, thank you for teaching me a skill that is worthy to share with others. Thank you for giving me uh, an inspiration, a gift that I actually can share, that I can actually make a difference in somebody's life for the positive on a regular basis. You know, I would say that unto itself is my greatest achievement, is being able to change people's lives for the better, I hope, and for them to give me their love. I'd say over the years, what has kept me in this is the connections, people such as yourself, who we have known each other since we were kids. I just, my longest friends have been in the martial arts, and it is the connections and friendships I've made that have kept me going. The consistency of the martial arts. It's, I've gone through some rough times, divorce and things like that, but martial arts was always there, and it never gave up on me, and it waited for me when times were rough. And I would say, I hope people appreciate the depth of what it is that we do. We all know people who we talk to, and they're like, "Yeah, I used to do karate. Oh, I was a black, you know what? I'm a black belt in Taekwondo." And I'm like, "That's awesome. Where do you train?" I stopped a couple years ago. I'm like, we have nothing to talk about then. I'm just saying, how many people are looking from the outside in? How many people are reminiscing on the old days because they stopped? We're still doing it because there's still a fire. And so I'm thinking to myself, my greatest achievement is doing it.
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
glad you shared that. I appreciate that. I like that, the idea that it's not necessarily something I've done, it's something I'm still doing. So
Mm.
my greatest achievement is just continuing on,
Yep.
continuing that legacy.
I would say one other thing that you and I can reflect on is that um, the first black belt clinic, we went as Chodambo blue belts, and this was the first exposure to a larger group. And Master Vaughn's school at that time was not really it was not a huge school. I mean, there's a handful of people, to be honest. And but that right there, you and me, two naive young kids with such wide eyes and excitement, that was pretty cool memory. That first black belt camp.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1989, I think, at Millersville.
Yep. Good
I
stuff.
remember they used to take us out in the morning and just run right through the middle of the town.
Yep. And Master Beam was scary. And then when I got to know him, he was scary.
So talk about that. We've talked about a lot of people. I just want to give you a chance to shout out. Are there any other influences on either your life, doesn't have to be in the martial arts, or in the martial arts, that you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to?
Yeah. I would give a shout out to Master Dave Roberts. He happened to live right across the way at a different apartment complex from me. And we used to train every day. And, I would say with him, he instilled within me hard work, technical excellence, and a tremendous friendship that to this day we're still very, very tight friends. Master Roberts, yeah, he's definitely huge. Yourself, you and I, we were peers, but we also challenged each other every single class. Master Jorgensen would get deeper in his stance. I get deeper in my stance. Pretty soon, we were so deep in our stances, our butts were hovering inches from the floor. It was a gift. It was amazing. So I would say, uh, watching you work hard inspired me to work hard, which inspired you to work hard. And here we are still doing it. I would say, Master Rick Harsh, tremendous friend. Um, and it's interesting to note, let me rewind for a second. So, when it came to when you got married, I was your best man. That's how far back we go. You and I both went to Master Ken Peterman's wedding when he got married to Master Nicole Peterman. When I got married my first time, you were my best man. Got married my second time, you're in another country known as Pittsburgh. So Master Rick Harsh was my best man at my last and final wedding. And I would just say that when you have martial artists who are far more than just kick punch friends, there is just something to be appreciated by that. I mean, I look at Grandmaster Shin, and when he got married, Grandmaster Huang Qi was the he oversaw it all. It's like that's crazy. So I would say, people like this, Master Melchiori, Master Peterman, Master Black, you know, these these people are, these are my best friends. I mean, it's like as a martial artist, I don't have, friends that I go and and hang out with. You know, my friends are scattered all over the place, but these martial arts friends, these are my closest, deepest friends. And
Sure.
so these connections that we make are far beyond the kick and punch. And for me, I've learned to appreciate, um, what a gift it is to be able to know people like yourself. So you know the kicking and punching, everything changes as you get older. I think I can still kick butt. However, things do change. But what doesn't change is the friendships and the connections.
So let's talk a little bit about change. We are coming close to an hour here, so we're
Yeah.
getting close to the end. So if you do have questions for Master White, again, throw them out there. We've consistently had people watching, so I know you're out there. Don't be shy about it. Um, we talked a little bit about this earlier, kind of how martial arts and the World Tang Soo Do Association has changed. Do you have anything either on the positive or negative side beyond what you've already talked about, maybe that you'd like to talk about, just the change that we've experienced over time in the martial arts association?
I mean, I think there's pluses and minuses. A plus would be that people know the timeline, people know what to expect. They put in this amount of effort, they're going to get this as a result. And that is a beautiful thing because it allows people to be able to plan ahead. This is my timeline in my martial arts career. And I do think that's a plus. I think the safety, things that they have put into competition have been tremendous because it opens the door for more people to compete that normally wouldn't if they saw people getting dislocated shoulders and broken noses. So I think that the rules have accommodated for a greater group of people to do martial arts, and I think that's a plus. The one negative I would say, um, is that hardcore martial artists, we're not concerned about timelines. And I know that for me personally, I was a third degree black belt for 10 years before I got promoted to fourth. And I didn't get promoted to fourth right away. I went through the, you know, pre-test and then went back and tested again and then got promoted. And so nowadays, And there was requirements. If you didn't have your own studio, you would never be a master. There was no such thing as a fourth stripe, and that was that. So I do think that the idea of not being concerned about time, because it is a journey and the journey plays out as it will. I think there's something to be said about that. So I think the negative is people know what to expect. They're going to get what they get if they do what they do. And I think that in some ways that takes away, I'm not saying that people don't have their heart in it. I'm just saying that when we were coming up, our heart was, I'm doing this, and whenever it happens, it happens.
Yes, sir. That's
And
great.
I think, yep. And I think that now it's kind of like it's going to happen on this day, this time, this year. I know how it's going to go down. I know what I need to do. For us, we didn't, we worked our butts off without having any real idea as to when we were going to be promoted, when we were going to be asked to test. We didn't know how long. And it didn't really matter because we were in this for the long haul, and the rewards came through every class and our personal achievement, not so much about the end game. So I would say that, I hope that I'm not offending anyone, but I do feel that back in the day, we didn't have a timeline, and we just worked and we just did it.
I
And
like
when it
that
happened,
perspective.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope some of our students are watching. I know we have some students with that perspective, but I agree. It's changed over time where everything has a timeline and an expectation now. And I think culture itself has gone that way. So that would just be a perspective everybody could take from, especially now in our pandemic situation. Don't expect a timeline. Just keep working, keep going
It,
through it. So
and it's interesting you bring up this pandemic, is that we have had to adapt, and martial artists are always ready for whatever. We were not expecting this nonsense, but we've adapted. We're offering top-notch online classes that we're doing on a regular basis, keeping it flowing. My concern is that when we do open up the doors again, I'm asking for all the students that are out there watching to talk to the other friends that are students. I highly, highly encourage you to take the plunge and jump back in once the opportunity opens and the doors open. Because my greatest concern is that we've worked so hard to change lives, and it's a beautiful thing. We don't want to come out of this pandemic with people saying, yeah, I used to be a black belt in World Tang Soo Do. No, no, don't used to be anything. Be, be. And when we get back and the doors open, continue to be. I don't want to have 100 students and then have 15 come back for one reason or another. It's just, don't be looking from the outside in. Be an insider. This is a unique club that we are in. This fraternity of martial arts is tremendous, and to be a part of it makes you one of the chosen, one of the lucky few. To be outside looking in, it's just shallow. It's not as deep. So I highly encourage everyone to stick with this, regardless of whether there's a pandemic, regardless of whether you're doing online classes. Stick with it. Do your best. Be patient. Persevere. And when the doors open, come back.
yes, sir. That was awesome. Thank you. Uh,
So,
I've just been looking through. There are some Facebook questions coming in now, so I'll try to ask a few of these. I can't guarantee everybody will get to all of these with Master White, but as long as he's willing to stick with us, we'll keep going. Um, so Rodney Ralph says, "What do you think about the association making higher Bonghyungs part of the master's curriculum? Something like a Bonghyung Sabu or something like that."
well, I personally think that, you should not forget the basics. I mean, if I'm correct, you and I tested together for our preliminary fourth degree test.
Yes.
And, the first form they had us do, I think, was Seegyang Ilbu. So if he's is he referring to World Tang Soo Do standard Bong forms, or is he talking about forms that are above Bong Hyung Sambu?
He's talking about adding more as part of a master level curriculum.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that brings up another point. Our testings for masters would start after our written test, which would then we would start our written test probably around, you can tell me if I'm wrong, around 10 o'clock or something. When our written test was finally completed, the board of directors meeting was done. They would all come back, which was a lot of work. I have no doubt. We would start our physical test and we probably wouldn't get done until close to 3 in the morning. It is what it is. You know, the point is that they took the time to run us through the curriculum thoroughly, and we did a lot. And I think now, because everything is streamlined, that things are sometimes, they cut to the chase. And I think that's fine. There's benefits to it. But I do also think there is benefits to a long drag out war, a whole journey of a test that is a long amount of time. You know what? If you can give me a second, I need to get my charger. My computer's going to die. Hold on 1 minute.
All right. While we're waiting for Master White to get plugged in here, we do have a few more questions coming in, so I appreciate that. Thanks to everybody. We are going to finish up with Master White shortly, so if you do have anything else you would like him to discuss, please throw it up there. We'll get Master White back with us shortly, and thanks to everybody out there who's been watching and been consistent.
I'm back.
He's back. He's back.
It'd be like one of my online classes where I'm teaching 1 second and then I disappear. Anyone who's been on any of my online classes, please don't take offense. I wasn't hanging up on you. I love you very much.
You see the same thing in my classes. My students will say the same thing. Okay. What's he doing now?
I'm back. So what was I talking about?
We were talking about working through the standard curriculum at Master's Clinic and the test, whether I should be introducing any new things.
I think they should, but that would require it taking a bit longer than normal. I know that the most recent Master Clinics that I've been to, the testing starts, around 7 o'clock. And I know that when we were coming up through the ranks, the Master's Clinic and the Master's Test was a mystery. We were like, what type of sorcery is going on at these Master's tests? I've heard little bits and pieces of stories, and it just seems so magical and like unknown and mysterious. And I think that now things are so much more an open book. And I think that in some ways, not knowing is sometimes a good thing. If you don't know, then you got to be ready for everything.
All right, I'm going to ask you, sir, can you lower your camera just a little bit? I'm just getting the top of your head right now.
Sorry. You saw
there he is.
Oh, you saw my 5 head. But what I was saying is, like, I think not knowing forces you to be ready for anything.
Yes. All right, that's great. Thank you. So I know my parents are out there watching, so my mom's actually throwing out a question to you. What is one thing you still hope to accomplish in your martial arts journey in the future?
I would like to have more students. And we'll see how that goes with, what's happening with this and the aftermath of this. I think things are going to look a lot different when this is all done. But, I would like to be able to teach as many people as I can and make as much a difference as I can. So what I hope to accomplish is to teach thousands of more students.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Touch as many people as we can.
Yep.
So you've talked about this some, but Tom Lyon says, we're blessed to have you as an inspiration and motivator in our region. What motivates and inspires you?
Well, when I was younger, what motivated and inspired me was, just I think I had a lot of aggression and a lot of anger when I was young because we were very poor. And so, I had a lot of fuel, a lot of fire. And so that motivation to channel that into the martial arts and to be intense, to be hardcore. You remember we worked so hard, the floors would be sweating, the walls would be sweating. It was, and the smell. Oh, I don't even want to talk about that, you know. But the point is that initially my motivation was probably fueled from frustration, anger, and disappointment, just to be true. And but my motivation and inspiration, and why I feel so motivated to do this now, it has truly been a reflection of students. I mean, it's like, you know, I teach the students, they teach me. We play a game of catch. Every class, my hope is, even online, that we're playing a catch. They inspire me, I inspire them. You know, back and forth, back and forth. This back and forth game of inspirational catch has been going on for 35 years now. I remember Master Vaughn saying way back, he says, you need to ease up a little bit. You're going to burn out. And I remember having hundreds of partners over the years when we were doing technique and training and instructors classes or black belt camps, and they're like, ease up, ease up. Well, no, I cannot ease up, because not a moment to be wasted. Every minute is a gift. I'm not going to sit there and just cruise. I have no time to cruise. And so my attitude is there's an urgency to not waste time. And and my personal motivation is, how much can I do good with the time that I have? And, you know, for the classes that I teach, I have never eased up in my motivation, my energy, my dedication, um, and I still have not burned out. So where does it come from? It comes from the the results of my efforts. And I do think that for all of these years, the hugs, I mean, even just something as simple as a hug. You know, you see somebody and they smile. That right there motivates me. You know, seeing others working their butts off, that motivates me. Um, if they are not working their butts off and I happen to be their teacher, I can tell you honestly that this is a fact. The student is a direct reflection of their teacher. And if the student is not looking good, it ain't their fault. And so when I see my students working, dedicated, showing high levels of skill, it brings me a sense of pride that you cannot, I mean, you can imagine. But people who are not in the martial arts, they cannot imagine, you know? And so my thought is that uh, my continued motivation comes from the gift that's been given to me and the ability to share it with others.
Awesome. I think Master White's had some incredible answers to these questions, whether they're pre-prepared or not. So I appreciate that, sir. I just have a
These
couple
are off
more.
the cuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, that was great.
No, I can honestly say that you know, I am really honored and appreciate you giving me the opportunity to chat, because you know, this is a beautiful thing that we do, and
So,
it is far more than just the physical. It's a beautiful thing we do. So
so
thank you for the
I will
opportunity.
just share a little bit. You know, Master White was my training partner for many, many years, and I appreciate the influence he's had on me as well, making me a better martial artist. I can remember times where we would just spar for hours on end or work on one form for hours on end, whatever it was. If you don't have that person in your life, find somebody that's going to push you like we pushed each other over the years, because it's made a tremendous impact. I know this isn't about me. It's supposed to be your interview, but I feel like our lives are still interconnected, and this is like a conversation we never stopped. You
Agreed.
know,
And I do think that martial arts is an amazing thing. The friendships and connections you make, where you don't see somebody for years, and this doesn't always happen, but then you see them years later, and it's like you haven't skipped a beat. And I think that is a tribute to the power of the connections that could be made when you are sweating and bleeding and and just going through war together. I think that forms a bond that is deeper than, you know. I just don't know any other thing that can be deeper than that. I mean, it just when it comes to socially for me, martial arts is, that's my friendship, my, my health, my psychiatrist. It's good stuff. So
Absolutely. So, everybody knows, those of us who've been doing it this long and longer, martial arts is our life. But is there anything outside of the martial arts or something maybe somebody doesn't know about you that you'd like to share kind of
yeah,
about you?
yeah, I actually am an artist. I paint, and I like to do. I don't do abstract painting. That's not where I'm at. I do very detailed paintings. I'm currently working on a large watercolor piece. It's a French cafe, and when I have free time, which is very little, I do find that doing artwork is very meditative for me, and I do like to lose myself in the details and the colors and uh, and the creation of art. I think that's tremendous. That brings up something interesting. Are you still doing your form of art? Because I remember you used to be quite the writer, and you would do the
I
poetry.
I still do to a certain degree,
Yeah,
here and there. So appreciate
yeah.
that throw out.
Yep, yep, yep. I
People,
remember. I remember the poetry. I was like, I said, my friend, he's a poet. I mean, he writes. I've never been that great at writing. That's why I teach 8-year-olds. I'm a genius for 8-year-olds. You put me with the third grader. I'm like, oh man, I don't know how to do this stuff.
it's interesting. I know a lot of martial arts. Whether you go all the way back to the old school artists like Musashi was also a painter, and a lot of martial arts have another artistic outlet of some
Yeah,
kind as well. So whether it's writing, whether it's painting, whether it's any artistic outlet, I know there's a lot of them people out there that are. Um, so if there's no other questions on Facebook, I'll give you an opportunity one last time to throw me out there, but I'll just ask Master White whether he has any closing comments or stories or words of wisdom for us before we finish up for today. And I really appreciate your time.
yep. And I would just say one last thing. Master Godwin, he he said something that stuck with me. He goes, "What we do is worthy, and what we have to offer is worthy." And I would say that for instructors, black belt students, know that what you're doing is worthy. It is an investment in your future. It's an investment in the future of others. And if you put your heart and soul into it, it's not wasted because it lives on long after you. And that's all I got to say about that. So stick with it, keep on keeping on. And when all this stuff clears and the smoke just lets up and the doors open, come back. Everybody come back. We're waiting for you. Martial arts will not leave you. Only you can leave it.
Well, I think we're going to close with that, sir. We're a little over an hour. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your friendship and brotherhood over the years. I don't really have anything else to add to the wisdom that Master White's already shared with us. So we're going to sign off and just Tong Su, like he says, keep with us and come back.
Do me a favor. Give my love to Ricky and your parents. And I love you too, brother. Take it
Love
easy.
you. All right.
Bye.
Tong Su. I'll finish our live stream here.